Today's my day off work, so it wasn't too busy. Just went and trained and uh, ran a couple of errands with my wife, and that's it. Nothing too
Nice.
major. So,
Yeah.
but but yeah, so we can get started, so I don't take up a whole bunch of your time. So how's your prep going for the Olympia?
Prep's doing really good. Feeling great. I competed this past weekend. So
Where did you compete?
I competed at the Sacramento Golden State, which I won.
Okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
So how many shows? So you won a show prior to this, correct? Prior to the show to make it to the Olympia.
Yeah. Well, for bikini, you probably already aware, but we were on the point system last year.
Okay,
So it was the top 20 with the most amount of points.
I see.
And so I had 3 wins and a second place to get me to Olympia.
Gotcha. Well, that's a lot of wins that you've taken. So at this point in your prep, how's your like training and nutrition? Are you pulling out like your carbs? Like how's that work right now?
Well, I have been manipulating my macronutrients quite a bit. When we decided to compete this past weekend, we made the decision Tuesday before, so we did some kind of aggressive adjustments just to kind of get me, ready for that. But I didn't want to compromise my path to Olympia yet. I didn't want to, I guess, fully peak this
Hmm.
weekend. Um, and they also have been telling me to come in a little bit softer, not as hard. So I really tried to kind of use this as a kind of an experiment, and where I felt like where I was at with my conditioning, it was been kind of like what they've been wanting. So it was kind of like, well, let's see how this does, and it worked out. So to answer your question, now moving forward, now that I'm kind of like, I just need a little bit, just a little tightening up, not much. Um,
Okay.
now I've been eating quite a bit yesterday and today, just really bringing my carbs up pretty high.
Mm.
Now that my metabolism is revving, um, I don't want to start to get, too lean, still keep my size.
Sure. How's your training? Is your training stay like standard? And
Yeah, I
again,
don't.
like I'm not extremely aware of how bikini competitors train. I'm more aware of like, men, bodybuilders, so forth. So
Yeah.
kind of explain to everyone how that would work for you.
So, my typical training splits are, I usually train glutes 3 times a week. And I'll alternate like a quad glute focus day, a glute hamstring focus day, a day of just glutes. Um, Maybe some more like plyometrics mixed in with that as well. Alternate between those days, I'll do like a back day, shoulders. Um, I don't work out my arms too much, but I will do some
Right.
arm workouts with some of my upper body focus days. I do abs about 4 days a week, but it's mainly glutes, glutes, upper body.
Sure. Because just primarily because that's really what the judges are, looking for, right? Correct.
Yeah, I mean, well, the judges want to see overall shape. We need to have balance, so we need to have developed, not a lot of muscle, but they want to see shape in the shoulders and the back, to balance out the lower body.
Hmm.
But I have a pretty strong upper body, and my they can get really dominant and really hard and um, capped. So I,
Hmm.
I don't train shoulders that heavy because I naturally already have that size on the upper
Sure.
body.
I was interviewing a girl, Nicole, that's competing in figure this Olympia, and we were discussing how like all the divisions have become progressively harder
Oh
as the
yeah.
years went on. So with you kind of being in that scene of a person who kind of tends to get harder, have you noticed that?
Oh, absolutely. And what the IFBB does, and they're doing it right now, is they have to, if they didn't start, I don't say I don't want to say regulate, but they the divisions will get harder and harder and harder, and they have to start, they at some points they have to like basically remind everybody and
Mhm.
reset the tone, because otherwise the divisions just get more and more muscular. And especially for in the women's side, they're bringing in a wellness division. So the wellness division is going to be coming out in January, and that's basically like for women with really strong, dominant lower bodies, smaller upper bodies, but they're trying to make room for that. So right now, they're really trying to regroom the bikini. They don't want to see, they want to see lines. They want to see the conditioning, but they don't want to see graininess. They don't want to see that really dry look that we have been seeing, and that I tend to bring. I just naturally lean uh, person, and so for me, I mean,
Right.
like for an example, my off-season weight is at 124. Well, my competing weight right now is 122. Like that's how far I stay close to it. So
Sure.
as soon as I start being consistent with my diet, training, I actually start kind of probably eating more in my prep. My body just gets revved, and
Right.
so I don't vary that much. So I have that harder physique, but they have to reset the tone. Otherwise, it just kind of gets out of control. And otherwise, when this new division comes out, it could very easily turn into a women's physique.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I I was listening to the fact that they're bringing in wellness division. It's a really popular division in like the Hispanic countries, South
Yes.
America, Brazil. So it was interesting for them to adopt that. I never thought they would, but I guess popularity kind of made that happen. So expanding the
Yeah.
sport and so forth. Yeah. And as far as like blurring the lines, it's they kind of left the women's bodybuilding, kind of put it off to the side, phased it out. Now looking at the women's physique, they're starting to kind of look like women's bodybuilders again. So I see that happening as well.
Yeah. I mean, bikini looks like how figure used to look.
Sure, sure. And so do you, with you getting that hard, is there ever like a, idea that comes to your head of switching divisions? Would you ever go to figure at any point?
There was a point when I definitely considered it. It. I've been a pro since 2013, and it took me 2 years to even like crack a top first call out. I loved competing, so I competed a lot, even though I was never able to make that first call out. And during that time, the feedback was like, you're too hard, your shoulders. And I was like, well, maybe I should just consider doing figure. But then I started looking at the figure girls, and I was like, man, I would have to like put on some serious muscle. And for my body type, I have a really hard time. I mean, even though I have really dense, mature muscle, I mean, I'm 40 years old, so I have
Mm,
that maturity there, but it's hard for me to put on, it's harder for me to put on muscle. Like,
yeah,
it's almost like I'm very compact, but it's hard
sure.
for me to put on that volume. And I don't know if I would want that kind of lifestyle for what it would take
Sure.
for me to get to that point.
Sure. Well, when you said that you get lean very, easily, and then you're only like 3 pounds difference from your off season to your on season, I imagine you run a very high metabolism. It'd be hard for you to put on, the kind of muscle that you would need to. So,
Right, right.
so how is it? You mentioned you were 40. I wasn't going to ask because I don't ask those questions, but uh, how is it competing with like younger girls, being someone who's been in the business for some time? Do you find it to be like intimidating? Do you find that you're kind of play a more of a, how can I put this? Like, do you teach more to the younger girls that are coming in and so forth? Are you a person that they come to for advice, so forth?
I would say I am a person that a lot of people come to advice for. I've been around. It's funny because I still look at myself as a rookie. Um, I think a lot of competitors. I mean, there's some that might have some pretty big heads out there, but um, I probably don't give myself as much credit as I should. I guess I don't, meaning I look at myself as a rookie still. And even though I've been competing
Yeah,
for 6 years, I still feel like there's a lot of room for improvement. I don't, like, I feel like I'm in my 20s still, and um, I look at them as equals.
sure.
But it's, I think because I have a faster metabolism. I have an easier time prepping, but I know as a lot of people get older, it's challenging. It's really challenging. You have to train harder. You have to, it's definitely harder to get your conditioning to that level and to make any kind of progress as we age. So, but I guess to answer your question, like, I don't feel intimidated by them. I know I could be some of their moms, most of their moms. Um, but I don't feel any different than them.
Sure. So speaking of moms, you have children of your own?
I have a daughter. Yeah, she's 10 years
Okay.
old.
Okay. Are you thinking that would you want her to get into this career,
No.
lifestyle, hobby? It's funny that
Ah,
you say that because most people that are in the fitness industry will never want their children to get into it. Why do you
I
say?
know. I don't actually. I mean, it's an amazing sport. I absolutely love it. It's changed my life completely. You know what? If she wanted to do it, like, I would be so supportive of her. And I would, like, be her number one fan, and I would help her all the way, but I would never push it on her. In fact, I've been very, very cautious. Like, if you come into my home, I don't have pictures of myself on the walls. I don't have, I don't flaunt any of that. I really try to keep it, more of like the body image from her. I don't want my daughter to, grow up seeing her mom a certain way and think that's the standard of what a woman should look like.
Right.
And for her to follow her own passions. But she loves what I do. She's very proud. She's extremely, like, she thinks it's amazing what I do, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome
Yeah.
to have that kind of relationship. So, you have a daughter of your own. How did you start like this whole journey of when did you begin training? When did you start kind of competing? Were your parents involved in it? How did that come about?
So I my parents were never into competing. They were never into sports in general. Growing up, I loved sports, and I was the one that said, I want to do little league, I want to do baseball, I want to do basketball. And my parents were always like, okay, all right. I was the one that was kind of signing myself up for all these sports. I swam in college, but I never even knew anything about bodybuilding. Like, I would get all the magazines, like the Fitness RX and all those magazines, and I would look at the women for inspiration, but just kind of like, whoa, that's like something that's like on a whole other level, and wasn't even thinking that it wasn't even in my thoughts. I was training for a triathlon in 2013. I'm a dental hygienist as well, and I was,
Okay.
just, I had my life all set, and I was just like, I need a challenge. So I was training for the triathlon, and someone at the time said, you should try out for a bikini competition. And I had no idea what that was, and I checked it out, like pictures, and I was just like, there's no way I could do that or even look like that. And I was in the gym one day training in the morning, and I was like, that seems so out of character for me and so, like, intimidating and scary. I'm going to do it. I'm going to challenge myself. Um, so I picked a show. 3 months later, I coached myself. I went to the show. I placed third place, and I absolutely loved it. I was just so inspired, and so I felt very empowered that I had done something that seemed so scary to me, and I accomplished it. And I was like on cloud nine. So basically, I did one more show after that. Quickly after, I got overall, and then I did my first national show 3 weeks later, and I won my pro card there.
Awesome. So that's a pretty quick
That was
move
quick.
to your pro.
Yeah.
to your pro status. Did you continue doing the long distance running, triathlons, and so forth? Did you kind of drop
No,
off that?
my whole training style completely shifted.
So,
Then it was like
gotcha.
all bodybuilding.
Yeah, it gets like that. It's a very like it's kind of like one of those things is once you start, it's very, very hard to stop. You know, it's very hard to move or shift to another type of training. It's very I want to say addictive. I don't want to use that word as negative connotation, but in a way, it is.
Well, they all serve purposes, like doing like long distance running and swimming, like endurance sports, like that's a lot of cardio. And if you're trying to put on muscle, you're not going to be achieving that. And same
Sure.
like, same thing with like CrossFit versus bodybuilding. I also coach athletes, and I have a lot of athletes who have a history in CrossFit, and they ask if they can still do CrossFit style training with their bodybuilding, and I'm like, it's you really can't, because it's so much more isolation and you're sculpting your body versus just focusing on like power and
Right.
your
Movement.
PRs.
Yeah.
Like you need to, like, your each exercise and each rep, there's a purpose for it, and you're trying to sculpt your body versus
Right.
just power.
Right. Right. Trying to chisel it basically out of stone.
Yeah, yeah.
So, so so with that being said, and you're going into what is this your fourth Olympia?
This will be my third Olympia, but I just
Third Olympia.
qualified for next year's
Oh,
Olympia with my win.
gotcha. Because everything like after a certain point goes, for the next
Yeah,
Olympia. Okay.
and they just changed the whole qualification system like 2 weeks ago. Thank God. That that now you win and you're qualified again. So it's back to the old way.
Yeah, so
It's
I
really
so I
cool.
didn't yeah, I didn't realize that you guys were doing completely points because every other division is if you win, you go and then,
Right.
and then there's a point system. So,
So
but
it was a way because there's so many bikini and men's physique shows, and there's so
sure.
many of us, that it was a way to kind of control the numbers on stage. So now they're going back, but there's some different like little rules that will help kind of bring it down to like only the top 25, I think, getting reimbursed at Olympia. But
Right.
I made it for 2020. I'm stoked.
Awesome. That's awesome. So, how many girls are on the Olympia stage usually?
Well, this year there will be 25.
25. So, it's
25 this year. Last year, I think there was like 38. The year before that, I think there was like
mhm.
41. So this year there was
Ooh,
25, and they
that's
they they made it really tough to qualify. This year was I feel very proud to be at Olympia this year because this was the hardest year to qualify.
sure with only 25,
Yeah,
competitors. Yeah.
all of us that have made it there, I mean, there were girls that had 2 wins that didn't qualify.
Yeah.
So like you
Yeah.
needed to have like at least three, or just competing a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not to, obviously, everybody would love to go to the Olympia, not take anything away, but it seems to me that you would want like just the highest level of athletes at the Olympia that are potentially vying for, either the win or something close because you want the show to be exciting. If there's like 40 something competitors, I mean, past 25, past 20, those girls probably are not going to be effective in that show.
Right, right. So they made it, very it's going to be a really fun year to watch.
Sure, sure. So, okay, so this is your third Olympia, and what would you consider like a win for you? Obviously, everyone wants to take number one. To share, how many has she won already?
She's won too. So
She's won
I
two.
I know a lot of people. I'm a realist. I'm not. I know I will not win this Bikini Olympia, and that's totally fine. The fact that I'm there, I'm stoked. My goal this Olympia is if I can make the top 10, I will be so happy. Um, then I can do the finals, and I would be in that top 10. The first Olympia I did, I placed seventh. I was beyond excited on that. And then last year I was in the first call out, and I ended up placing 11th. But if I can get back down to that top 10, I'd be like, that's my goal.
So 10 for you would be top 10 would be for you like winning the Olympia. So that would be what.
I know I should probably shoot higher, but I'm just being realistic.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. That's actually a little bit refreshing because you get a little, and rock with me when I say this. It's sometimes it gets annoying talking to everybody who thinks they're gonna, win, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like you're not. I mean, you're not being realistic with, what's happening in that situation,
Yeah.
So yeah. So it was interesting because it was, I believe it was last year, Ashley came back, and I thought she looked really good, but she didn't place that, as well as I thought she would have. Do you think like the Tashir deserved that win, and where do you see those placings from last year? Do you think they were adequate?
I do. I mean, on my honest opinion, well, the division has changed since Ashley was Miss Bikini Olympia. The whole look
Sure.
has changed. So what they're going for right now is just very round, full glutes. And Ashley has some crazy glutes. She does, but they're but it's just evolved. It's
Yeah,
changed.
yeah,
It's changed. And I don't. I think Angelica definitely. I love. Well, first of all, I loved Angelica. She's like the nicest. She's like the nicest person. So I'm a little biased because of that. I
sure,
absolutely adore her.
sure.
She has a amazing physique. She's very well balanced. She's very poised on stage. Laura Lee, I I thought it was really close between her and Laura
Hmm.
Lee. So I totally agree with the definitely in the top two they had
The
there.
decision. Okay,
Yeah,
awesome,
but
awesome.
it just shows how much it's changed, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's hard coming back, and it's also hard to dethrone, an Olympia winner without being extremely different, like exceedingly above them. It's hard to do that. I
yeah,
know, I know it's that way with the men's division. They will always give it to the former winner unless you can really prove that you deserve it.
right, right. And Angelica, I was really excited to see Angelica defeat her title. This year's gonna be interesting. I there's some other girls who are coming in there that are newer on the circuit, and they are like, it's going to be incredible. So it's going to
Yeah,
be, and it's going to be a tough year for Angelica to defeat her title, I think.
sure, sure. Yeah, yeah. If she can do it 3 times, what's the highest been done? Did Ashley do it 3 times?
I think Ashley did it 3 times, and Angelica can very well do it this year.
Mm.
I'm There's just a lot of badass chicks coming up there.
Yeah, there's it seems like with the women, especially the bikini, it's tougher to repeat. Like you have men bodybuilders have been Olympians for like 8 years, and 6 years, 5 years, and with women, it seems like 2 or 3, and then they get dethroned. I'm assuming because the competition is so tough.
Yeah, well, and like going back to the whole wellness division coming out, they could very well be changing the whole direction for what they want the bikini to be, just to set aside a separation between the two classes, because that's going to be
Sure.
the wellness is going to be, it's not quite figure, it's not quite bikini, but there could be some changes happening just to kind of reset the tone and define the two classes. um so
When are they planning to have the wellness division, like give out like pro cards and so forth?
January.
Okay, so it starts January. So that'll
Yeah,
be interesting. How close do you follow other divisions in the sport?
not too close. I mean, I follow some men's physique competitors, some figure, some physique, women's physique and classic, but not too closely. Just
Okay.
a few that I've met and I know along the way, but not too
Okay.
closely.
As far as the situation going on with the men's Olympia, are you aware like there's a lot of drama happening with the whole
For
situation?
the like the big boy class.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So what do you think about that? Do you?
Well, I guess my only thoughts are that it's kind of up for grabs, right?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it sounds. Yeah, it sounds like you're focused primarily only on bikinis. So just
That if you saw my like Instagram feed, it's like bikini, bikini,
yeah,
bikini,
yeah,
bikini,
yeah.
bikini. I leave all that stuff up to my husband Chris to like fill me in on
Sure,
all the other
sure.
stuff.
Awesome. So, so just to, I guess, just to kind of wrap this up. So you're also training yourself. Who's training you for the show? Is anybody training you?
Yeah, so my husband Chris actually he's coaching me.
Okay.
He's been guiding my diet and training for the past like 2 years basically. He's he keeps a really close eye on me. We basically change my diet daily.
Yeah.
I'll wake up and he'll take a look at me and he'll say like, all right, today we're doing this. Today we're doing this.
Sure.
So yeah,
Yeah.
he
Awesome.
does all that. I do my training though.
Okay. So then you're also a coach yourself, and you coach, other girls and other competitors. Do you only do competitors, or do you do regular just people as
Lifestyle
well?
too. I
Yeah.
do both. Yeah, I do both. Chris and I, we own a gym out in Santa Cruz called Santa Cruz Power Fitness. So we have a
Okay.
lot of athletes also that train there,
Hmm.
and so we coach lifestyle competitors as well. We have a team called Team Pulse, and that's where it's kind of based out of. But
Hmm.
we've kind of we don't have such a large roster of athletes and clients anymore because we have our business has expanded so much. But we still have a handful of
Yeah.
clients that we work with.
So go ahead and like talk, let us know like what kind of business are we talking about? What is your business, and what do you do,
So
and that for it?
yeah, so we have Team Pulse. That's how it all kind of started, and then we opened a nutrition shop called Santa Cruz Sports Nutrition, and we created that about 3 years ago. So it's a nutrition shop that we do, online shipping, and we have a storefront. And then we also have Santa Cruz Power Fitness. So we purchased Santa Cruz Power Fitness about 14 months ago. It's like an old school gym, old school Gold's gym, and we've kind
Nice.
of refaced it, got new equipment. We have like Arsenal strength. We just have it's a really really cool gym where you can be loud. um it's a really cool vibe, and
So it's not a
it's
Planet Fitness.
oh hell no,
You
no,
won't. You won't. Nobody will get kicked out for screaming or
no.
dropping a
It's
weight.
like if we're in the mood to put on ACDC, we will be blaring ACDC.
I
And
gotcha.
it's like it's a really big gym. It's 12,000 square feet,
Wow.
and it's fun. It's our playground, and
Yeah.
it's we are since we're so we when we travel, we like to go to gyms like Columbus, Gold's Gym, Venice, Bev's
Sure.
Gym. We look up to all these different gyms, Dougherty's gym in Australia, and we look up to these gyms, and so we wanted to kind of bring that to our town. So I mean, it's awesome. I love it.
Yeah. Awesome. So you do a lot of traveling?
Um, yeah, sometimes parts of the year we do a lot of traveling, especially when I'm like competing. Sometimes I find myself going to the airport every weekend, um, somewhere different.
How many shows are you planning to do next year? Like, I know you already qualified for the Olympia. Are you just gonna wait it out, or are you gonna
I'm gonna
do more
apply.
shows?
I'm gonna most likely apply for the Arnold's,
Hmm. Okay.
um, and then just wait it out for Olympia. I
Yeah.
I I have the amazing opportunity to take a solid off season
Hmm.
rather than having to compete and grind away. Like it's those off seasons
Sure.
are so important.
Sure. Relax and try to develop a little more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So, hey, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. How, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, like for training, for your business, how would they do that? Like, what is all your contact information? Things of that nature.
Yeah. I mainly use Instagram as like my social media platform, and
Okay.
that is Camile_Periat. Hi, Lola. My daughter just got in the car. She was at singing
Awesome.
lessons. So
Okay. Well, it
Camille,
sounds like we picked a good time to stop. So, yeah.
yeah, but Camille_Periat is my Instagram platform. SantaCruzPowerFitness.com is our website.
Okay. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I hope, you do really well. I'm sure you will. And yeah, thank you again for everything.
You're welcome. Have a great day,
All
Armin.
right. You take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.